Welcome back. This video will be covering updating Share and the Share properties. So the last step before we can build our WIM and deploy our operating system is to verify that all the settings are correct within the Share. This double check will help ensure that all bugs and errors are removed before we actually attempt to deploy the image. In this video, we will be covering a few topics. First, we're going to start with accessing the Share. We really haven't had much of a reason to use the / commands to access our Share remotely. However, if we're deploying our Share, we are going to need that access. We're going to start by going to our Share. Keep it under the F drive, and this is new MDT. Now, you don't have to share the drive itself. You'll only have to share the folder that is on the drive. So I go to my Share. Right click, go to properties, and if you go to the sharing tab, you can see here is our UNC network path, and you don't have to click on the share icon here. If you look at advanced sharing and you click on that one, this is where you want to put all your permissions and your users to access the Share remotely. I added a new Share. I called that Share new MDT money sign. The limit of simultaneous users doesn't really matter. I added a comment, and if we click on the permissions box, we can see that everyone in here has permissions to read and write. For security reasons, I have went ahead and blurred out all of these. If you look below, you can see that all of them do have read and write privileges. With that being set, you should be able to push start, type in your / command, type in your server name, and then type in your Share, which is new MDT $, and it should pull up. If it doesn't pull up, something went wrong. Now, if you do have issues, you can always go back to your new MDT, go back to your properties, and verify that your event sharing settings are correct. Also, if you're having issues, you need to verify that you are using this command. Okay, so now that we can access our Share remotely, we need to verify that the bootstrap and custom settings are correct. Now, since we just covered that in the last video, I know they are correct, but for the sake of minimizing the errors and ensuring that all the bugs are removed, it's a good idea to just go back through, expand your Share, and start from the top. Make sure you have an operating system. Make sure your drivers are there. If you have any packages, make sure those are there. Task sequences, make sure your task sequence has all the correct settings. So expand all these and just quickly go through it. Also, if you go to your install operating system, make sure that your operating system is the correct image, and you can change this image by clicking on the browse and then going over here to the drop down, and it'll show you a list of all the available operating systems that you have on your machine inside the Share. So that is correct. Make sure that all of your settings look good. But we can leave on the post-apply cleanup and any custom tasks that we have, but we don't, so we can go ahead and disable those as well. So there was a few things I wanted to change. Everything else looks pretty good. And I'm going to go ahead and push apply. Go over to my OS info, and you can go open your edit unattend and give it a quick once or twice over. Make sure all your settings are correct and that all your information is put in here. Auto log on is pretty helpful. I do like to use that. It saves me the time, and it just allows the computer to do some of the work for me. So when we're satisfied with our auto unattend, we'll close that. Here's our task sequence ID, remember, if we need that. And we're going to go look at our advanced configuration. We have all of these things. We're not using the bottom three. However, we do need a selection profile for our drivers. Now, I have out-of-box drivers with the folder Dell 3010, and I have a Dell 3010 selection profile. That's the process I take before I update the Share. It's good to just double check, make sure everything's there, everything's ready to go, and something didn't get accidentally fat fingered. So if we left click on our Share, right click, and go to properties, we're going to give this a quick once over as well. Remember, here's our UNC path again, so there's multiple places to look to ensure that you are able to get the correct path. If you go to the rules, this is our custom settings.ini file. You can double check everything in here, and you can also click here, open your bootstrap, and change what you need to here. If you click on the Windows PE, it gives you 3 more options and tabs. If you're wanting to change the custom background image, you can do that. Click here and change your custom background image while it is deploying. I usually keep it on the x86 regardless of the CPU architecture for the machine I'm deploying on. If we go over to features, I usually just leave these default. You don't really need to change them unless you're doing anything special. Drivers and patches, this is where we're going to point to our driver selection profile. So we're using a Dell 3010 over here. So we need to make our selection profile Dell 3010. If you made a selection profile for Windows 8.1 that contained all of the drivers for several models, all 8.1, then you need to go make a selection profile for that particular task and then point to it here. If you point to all of them, it will greatly increase the size of your .wim that we're going to be using to pull our image with. With that being said, you can change any settings you feel you need to change here. When you're ready, push apply. We're going to go over to the monitoring tab. Remember in our custom settings.ini file, we changed the port to 9800, and this is where we're telling it what port to use, and the monitoring host is IMAX, which is the name of the server that we are on. Everything looks good, so I'm going to go ahead and push OK. Now we are finally ready to create the .wim files and the .isos. You're going to right click on your share and you're going to update the deployment share. Now whenever you are creating this for the first time, you always want to completely regenerate the boot image. You only need to do this for the first time. However, if later down the road you make any changes to your bootstrap.ini or custom settings.ini or any changes to your share, then you can re-optimize your boot image to update those settings, and then you'll have to drag the .wim file over to your flash drive again, which we will cover in the next video. So since we've never pulled an image before on this share, we're going to go ahead and completely regenerate the boot image. One of the times you do not have to regenerate the boot image is if you make any changes to your task sequence. Your task sequence is read whenever your credentials are typed in. When you're ready to create the deployment .wim files and the .isos, you can go ahead and push next, and the process will start. Depending on your server configuration and processing power, it can take a few minutes to 15-20 minutes. It really depends on your system. And that pretty much sums up this entire video. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.